driving what is essentially Gogglebox. Have you ever heard of Gogglebox? It's a TV program where people go to become celebrities, and that's what this car has managed to do for itself. It's become famous just for people driving it. Who's driven this? Who's sat in this particular seat where my bottom is perched right now? Yeah, go on, give me the names.
Okay, let's go through them. You've got, well, obviously the previous owner of this car was Mr. Joseph Lloyd of the Lloyd Vehicle Consulting YouTube channel.
Yep.
The car has also been driven by James Martin of JM on Cars, Matt Richardson of the Furious Driving channel,
Mark Parr
of Mark on Motoring.
Yep. Boaty of Boaty's World.
Yeah, but I haven't really done a particular video on it. Well, I haven't done an official test drive and review.
Maybe even Hooknut has driven this car, but I don't know. And apparently there's a whole raft of other YouTube celebrities, most of which we'll never have heard of, that have driven this car. This is, of course, Joseph Lloyd's famous Rover 45 2-litre V6 that many people have driven and has featured on an awful lot of videos. 39. Apparently that's the number of this car still available, which is quite odd because you look at it and just think it's just a Rover 45. But the heated seats do work very well, and I believe so does the cruise control. But this has a leather steering wheel and an original, the most expensive stereo ever fitted to a car. Is that correct?
Possibly not, no, but it was it was considered to be the best available at the time, and probably was the most expensive back in the day.
And Boaty's just been informing me of how much effort they went to actually put a V6 in this car in the first place, because the Rover 45 wasn't really ready for it. They had to hack and chop away at it like a backstreet garage just to cram it in there. Those naughty Rover boys, they had some fun. For me, the 2-litre KV6 never been a particularly great engine though, because it's just a bit underpowered. It uses up an awful lot of fuel, but doesn't go very well at all. And then when you make that to an automatic gearbox, which you have to do in one of these, I'm expecting just a bit of a slug. The ultimate white elephant, you say?
Yeah, it kind of is the ultimate white elephant, and that's one of the reasons why I liked it. Because at a time when Rover as a brand, as a company, was struggling, they really should have put everything that they had towards maximising sales on their mainstream models, either by throwing money at them to improve them, or at the very least by throwing money at them in terms of not doing the cost-cutting exercises to make them worse. And instead of doing all of that, they threw a fortune at putting the KV6 V6 into the 45, and they threw another fortune at putting the V8 into the 75. Absolute fortunes of money and time spent that ultimately probably only had the effect of hastening the company's demise.
Well, the 2-litre V6 isn't really about speed, is it? And I think that's one thing to consider here. It's about making it more luxurious, having a smoother engine, an engine that costs you a lot more when it comes to maintenance. All these kind of things contribute towards you feeling like you're a cut above the rest because you can afford to maintain it. Unless you can't, then you end up with a really cat car that nobody wants. It may be a connoisseur, but it does have a few corners cut by Rover, and I'm afraid the glove box opening there is just one of them. Gone as the old velvet lining, gone as the carpet, of course, the door caps, and a few of the other things that make it quite a nice thing indeed. And the seats, they're definitely not as good as the old ones.
And if you see a train coming along here, that's like winning the lottery.
What, because it's a road? A good 20 miles into the journey, and I've just put it into sporty mode. The sport is on the dashboard, and I still don't really have the urge to do anything sporty with it because it's just such a relaxed cruising car. Yeah. It's not really made for doing sporty stuff at all, is it? No.
Hang on, am I allowed to respond to that? Because you're talking bollocks. If ever a car was set up to do sporty stuff, this is the one that is. You've got what was generally acclaimed to be the best handling platform in its class, the best chassis in its class. You've got the best steering in class. It's pin sharp, and you've got an incredibly revvy, willing, giving V6 engine. This is an amazing sports saloon.
Right. What we have is the best chassis in its class. We have the best underpinnings. We have the best steering. We have the revvy, proper willing revvy engine that somehow I've missed a word off there. And it promises to be possibly one of the best sports saloons going.
Exactly. There's a bit of negotiation there.
Sorry.
Oh,
I just put my foot down a little bit then. I looked at the dash and it said sport, but I misread it as saying sorry. Butter me some toast, please.
Pray silence and your thoughts and prayers, please. 4.
Do you know what? You're right. This car just hustles along without really any effort at all. Personally, I find Black Sheep to be quite cute. Oh no, not behind a bloody Sprinter. Mind you, then again, you know how they drive.
It'll be quicker than you. I bet you can't keep up with him. Good chat.
Now, what I'm about to do is put my fruity gloves on and do something slightly naughty and drive this car like it's mine. With my passenger here shaking his head at my description of how I'm going to do this, you will see how a man drives a car when he's not afraid to scare his passenger. Nice twisty road, but I don't really have too much urge to be really revving the thing. I just want to see how nicely it does just stick on the bends. Actually, even on a road like this where you're not going too fast, it does have the kind of weighted perfection to the steering. And I know I could go a lot faster than this, and I'm already going ever so slightly faster than the speed limit suggests I should be doing. Cut the corner. You've got to say, that does sound good. This is the best bit, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I didn't put those fog lamps on. It really is such a handsome car. I'm not a fan of silver cars, but it does work in silver. Fog lamps on and on. These. What? The headlamp washers are an extra little bit of detail that, you know, they're unnecessary, but they do look good. And the Cosmos alloys, definitely the best wheels for the 45. We're now being driven by Boaty, which means it's my turn to do the head shaking. I think a manual box is better, and Boaty reckons the sequential. Oh, you're going for the middle one as well. Dangerous, these things, aren't they?
It is narrower.
Yeah. Because of the seamless change and the better control.
Ultimately, what do you want from a gear change? You want it to be immediate and you want it to be seamless. You don't want to be off the power for too long. I mean, the less time you're off the power, then the quicker your progress is going to be. And demonstrably and obviously in a sequential box, it is a better shift than you will ever be able to achieve with a manual. Because with a manual, by using the clutch, you are disconnecting the powertrain. However, and with a sequential automatic shift, you're not doing that. And that is demonstrably better. It's no accident.
Demonstrably?
Yeah, it's no accident that sports cars, performance cars, hypercars, Formula One cars, that is what they all use. They use sequential shifting. Now, they might use a flappy paddle gearbox controls on a steering wheel, much like the MG, F and TF Steptronic. But that's what they're using, and that is no accident. They use that because it is the most, well, it's the best and it's the most word beginning with P that I can't think of. Not precocious. Oh, how annoying when you lose a word.
Sorry, you're only 1 minute 40 minutes into the course. You're only 1 minute 40 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's
into
just
this
better.
explanation.
It's obviously better, and you're a very silly, hairy man for trying to suggest otherwise.
Okay, right. Well, at just one point I would make, and I can do this in 10 seconds, that the manual gearbox is a bit like when you used to play records and you physically put the arm down onto the record, and it makes more an occasion out of listening to music.
Yeah, but
And
no.
that's the same with this.
So basically, what you're saying is that
I prefer a worse car.
yes.
Right. Okay, so what I think is the automatic box is the one to have with the 2 litre. In fact, it's the only one you could have. They didn't do a manual version of it, but it's a nice, relaxing car, and that's all it should be. But it is paired up with a chassis that's capable of doing all sorts of rather wonderful stuff. It's just that I don't get it with an automatic box. And whatever you say about these flappy paddle gearboxes and stuff like that and how they're quicker, it just doesn't feel the same.
That's because you were getting into the wrong gear on every available occasion. I'll show you how to do it properly.
That's true.
And
Yeah, I was. I was doing it wrong.
You keep calling it an automatic gearbox.
It is.
You move this gear lever. I'm showing you. Look.
Yeah.
Well, show them.
Oh, right.
Over to there. That is now. Once you start shifting sequentially, it's not an automatic box. It's a manual box. So you can't say that you don't like the automatic box. Well, you can, but
I do.
You don't have to have an automatic box. You've got a manual box here, and you've got an automatic box there. So
Go on. This will be gold.
So you can't lose with this car. It's like having a woman that's got both perfect breasts and a perfect bottom. You don't have to choose between one or the other. You don't have to compromise. You don't have to make an excuse. You don't have to look at her fat old bottom and think, yeah, but she's got great knockers, or indeed vice versa. You've got both, and that is what this car is. It's a Julia Roberts with the best knockers and the best arse in the world. This car is not just titty biscuits. This car is titty biscuits on toast.
I think what we're going to have here is a long version of this video and a short version. Are you sure? The problem with the perfect woman, of course, is you haven't got enough hands.
Yeah, as long as you got time.
Ah. What have you got time on your hands?
Exactly. Here on the dashboard,
Yeah.
and that brings up a cruise control telltale in the upper right hand quadrant of the dash, a quadrant that I like to call Gerald.
And now we're doing 50 miles per hour with no, well, hands-free 50 miles per
Well,
hour.
we're about to. I'm about to set it.
Oh yeah.
There.
Right.
Now we are doing, look,
Yeah, and you did take your hands off to demonstrate that. Hands off, elbows down. All of these things help.
no feet.
Does the horn work?
Yes. And no, I'm not going to do it. course you'll have noticed it. Which is what Linda Lovelace had after I choked her. 5, 6, 7, 8. I can see 8. I presume there's a reversing light. 9.
No, there's right. Well, I mean,
Fog light.
there's
10.
13 individual things, and then reflectors as well.
Oh, there's.
At last, I get to drive this Rover 45 as well. What a lovely motor it really is, with its Cosmos alloys and the mud flaps, front and rear. There were no dents on it anyway. It's been a really, really well cherished car. I don't think, well anyway, I didn't notice any before. No, there's no dents down that side either. The only one I've noticed, and I did notice it straight away, was that one there. That's not really worthwhile pointing out, even though I just did. The V6 does have a few tweaks to make it distinguishable between this and the regular model, like the extended bumper plinth there and the little rubber patch at the bottom. What do you call that? Unfortunately, the bumper does have a few minor scuffs on it, but you have to get reasonably close before you notice. Leather seats with rear electric windows as well, and the headlining is in good condition. It's just unfortunate about the carpet, isn't it? Don't you think? That it should have this kind of carpet rather than a proper carpet. Unfortunate and unexpected, being as this is the connoisseur model, which is the top of the range Rover 45. When you consider that just a couple of years before this, even the absolute bog standard car with a 1.4 engine and the wind down windows would have had carpets, and this one doesn't. And this is where the business really happens. Underneath the bonnet, with the 2-litre KV6 engine with approximately 140 brake horsepower.
But I wonder if at that point the people involved on the shop floor, I wonder if they knew that whatever happened, the company was going to the wall. And I wonder if they thought, let's just go out in a blaze of glory and create a couple of amazing things that in the future will reflect well on the brand. So we'll go out not with a whimper, but with a bloody big bang.